The warning alarm screamed through the small ship as Captain Taewook Kim fought with the controls. Red lights flashed everywhere. Smoke filled the cockpit. His hands moved fast over the buttons and switches, but nothing worked anymore. "Come on, come on," he shouted at his ship. The engine made terrible grinding noises. Then it stopped completely. The planet below grew bigger and bigger through the front window. It looked like a giant ball of blue and green with strange crystal formations that caught the light from its sun. Taewook had never seen anything like it before. He grabbed the radio. "This is Captain Kim to base ship. My engine is dead. I'm going down on the unknown planet. Tell my family I love them." "Static," answered him. The radio was broken too. The ship hit the atmosphere. It shook like a wild animal. Taewook held tight to his seat as flames covered the windows. The heat was terrible. His ship was falling apart around him. Trees rushed up to meet him. But these were not normal trees. They looked like they were made of crystal and glass. They glowed with soft blue and purple light. The ship crashed through the crystal trees. Branches broke against the hull, with sounds like breaking glass. Taewook felt his left leg snap. Pain shot through his whole body. Something warm ran down his face. Blood. Everything went quiet. When Taewook woke up, night had come to the strange planet. The crystal trees around him glowed brighter now. They made enough light for him to see. His ship was completely destroyed. Metal and plastic were scattered everywhere. He tried to stand up. His left leg would not hold him. It was broken badly. He could feel something wrong inside his chest, too. Probably broken ribs, maybe worse. "Okay, Taewook," he said to himself. "You've been in bad spots before. Think." He looked through the wreck of his ship. Most of his supplies were ruined, but he found his emergency pack. It had some food, water, tablets, basic medical supplies, and his scanner. The distress beacon was smashed. "Nobody's coming to find me," he said. "I have to save myself." He used pieces of metal from his ship to make a crutch. Every step hurt, but he could walk a little. His scanner showed strange energy readings coming from the north. Very strong readings. The crystal forest was like nothing he had ever imagined. The trees were tall as Earth's redwoods, but they were made of what looked like living crystal. Inside, them colored lights moved like slow lightning. Some trees hummed with low musical sounds. Others chimed like bells when the wind touched them. Small creatures moved in the trees. They glowed like fireflies but were shaped like tiny dragons. They seemed curious about him but kept their distance. The air smelled clean and sweet, like flowers after rain. Taewook walked for hours. His broken leg made each step agony, but he kept going. The energy readings on his scanner got stronger and stronger. Then he saw it. Through the crystal trees, massive shapes rose against the star-filled sky. At first, he thought they were mountains, but as he got closer, he realized they were buildings. Huge buildings that stretched up into the clouds. "My God," he whispered. The buildings were not like anything humans had ever built. They seemed to grow from the ground like plants, but they were made of the same material as the crystal trees. Some twisted up like DNA spirals, others spread out like giant flowers. All of them glowed with soft light. But the strangest thing was that they seemed alive. Taewook could see the buildings breathing. Their walls moved in and out slowly like lungs. Lines of light flowed through them like blood through veins. He reached the edge of what was clearly a city, a massive city built by beings far more advanced than humans. The buildings were connected by bridges that looked like they were made of light itself. Streets glowed with soft patterns that moved like rivers. But there was no one there. Taewook limped into the city. His scanner went crazy. The energy readings were off the charts, but he could not see a single living being anywhere. "Hello?" he called out. His voice echoed strangely off the living walls. "Is anyone here?" No answer. Just the soft humming of the city itself. He walked down a main street that was wide enough for 100 people to walk side by side. The ground under his feet was warm and slightly soft, like walking on leather. Symbols glowed in the surface, changing and flowing as he watched. On both sides of the street, doorways opened as he approached. They seemed to sense him coming. Inside the buildings, lights turned on automatically. But every building was empty. Where is everyone? He said to himself. His scanner beeped. Something very powerful was ahead of him at the center of the city. The readings were stronger than anything his instruments had ever detected. Taewook followed the scanner's directions. The street led to a huge open space surrounded by the tallest buildings. In the center of the space was the biggest structure he had seen yet. It was shaped like a giant crystal, but it had to be 1,000 feet tall. It glowed with white light from inside. A doorway opened in the base of the crystal building as he approached. The opening was perfectly sized for him, as if the building knew he was coming. "This is either the best thing that could happen to me," Taewook said, "or the last mistake I'll ever make." He looked back at the empty city behind him. His ship was destroyed. His radio was broken. He was hurt and alone on an alien world. Whatever was in that crystal building, it was his only hope of survival. Taking a deep breath, Taewook stepped through the doorway. The door sealed behind him with a sound like a whisper. Ahead of him, a corridor glowed with gentle light, leading deeper into the crystal structure. His scanner showed that the most powerful energy source was straight ahead, at the very center of the building. "Well," he said, limping forward on his makeshift crutch. "Let's see what's waiting for me." The corridor seemed to go on forever, but Taewook kept walking. Each step took him deeper into the mystery of the empty city, and closer to whatever had been calling to his scanner since he first crashed on this strange world. Behind him, the crystal trees continued their eternal song. Ahead of him, something vast and ancient waited in the heart of the alien city. The corridor inside the crystal building was unlike anything Taewook had ever seen. The walls were smooth and warm to touch, made of the same living crystal as the rest of the city. But here, the light was different. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. His broken leg throbbed with each step, but something strange was happening. The pain was getting less. Not much, but enough that he could walk a little easier. The air itself seemed to help him breathe better. "What is this place?" he wondered aloud. The corridor curved gently upward. As he walked, Taewook noticed that the walls showed images. They were not painted or carved. They appeared inside the crystal-like movies playing in 3 dimensions. He saw alien beings with tall, thin bodies and forearms. They had large heads and eyes that glowed with inner light. The images showed these beings building the city. They worked together, shaping the crystal buildings with their bare hands. The crystal seemed to obey their thoughts, growing and changing as they wanted. But as Taewook walked further, the images changed. They showed the alien beings standing in groups, talking in what looked like serious discussions. Then they began to glow brighter and brighter. One by one, they became pure light and faded away. "They left," Taewook said to himself. But where did they go? His scanner beeped faster now. The energy source was very close. The corridor opened into a huge round room that took his breath away. The room was enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high that he could barely see it. In the center of the room was a throne made of the same living crystal, but this crystal was different. It pulsed with white and gold light that seemed alive. Around the throne, floating in the air without any support, were hundreds of screens made of light. They showed star maps, streams of numbers, and alien writing, and what looked like real images of distant worlds. Some screens showed space battles. Others showed peaceful planets with strange cities. "Incredible," Taewook whispered. He limped toward the throne. With each step, more lights came on around the room. The floating screens moved to face him. The throne itself began to glow brighter. When he was 10 feet away from the throne, everything changed. A voice spoke inside his head, not in his ears, but directly into his thoughts. It was not words, but pure meaning that he understood perfectly. "Welcome, inheritor. We have waited long for your arrival." Taewook stopped walking. His heart pounded. "Who's there? Show yourself." "I am Kithmore. I am the voice of this city, the keeper of its memories, the guardian of its purpose, and you, human, are the one we have waited for." "I don't understand. What do you mean, waited for me?" Images filled Taewook's mind. He saw the history of this place without words, understanding it all at once like a sudden memory. This city was called Velnathi. It had been the capital of a great empire called the Ethereal Dominion. The empire had spread across thousands of star systems, bringing peace and knowledge to countless worlds. The beings he had seen in the corridor walls were called the Ethereal Ones. They had built the empire not through war, but through wisdom. They could shape matter with their minds and travel between stars as easily as humans walked between rooms. But the Ethereal Ones had grown beyond the need for physical bodies. One by one, they had chosen to become pure energy and thought, leaving the physical universe behind. Before they left, they built this throne and placed Kithmore here to wait. Wait for what? Tewok asked. For a successor. For beings with the proper neural patterns to inherit our empire. For beings who could use our technology and carry on our purpose. And you think humans can do that? I do not think. I know. Your species has the rare neural pattern we sought. 1 in 10 billion sentient beings has this pattern. Humans have it. You have it. Tewok looked at the throne. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The crystal seemed to call to him. What happens if I touch it? You will become the new sovereign of Velnathi. The city will bond with your nervous system. You will have access to all our knowledge, all our technology. You will command the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known. And if I don't? Then the empire remains dead. The knowledge remains locked away. And the great enemy that destroyed many worlds will continue to spread unchecked. Great enemy? More images filled his mind. He saw creatures of living shadow that consumed entire planets. They did not just destroy matter and energy. They consumed consciousness itself, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The Void Collective, Kithmore explained. They fear consciousness and seek to destroy all thinking beings. The Ethereal Dominion held them back for millions of years, but with our departure they have begun to spread again. They move toward your human space even now. Tewok felt cold despite the warm air. How long do we have? At their current speed, they will reach your colonies within 1 of your years. Your human military cannot stop them. Only Dominion technology can hold them back. The throne pulsed, brighter. Tewok could feel its power calling to him. He took another step closer. If I do this, what happens to me? Do I stop being human? You will still be yourself. But you will also be more. The throne does not change who you are. It gives you the tools to become who you were meant to be. Tewok thought about his crew, about his family on Earth, about all the human colonies spreading across the galaxy. If what Kithmore said was true, they were all in terrible danger. Why should I trust you? Because you have no choice. Your ship is destroyed. You are injured and alone on an alien world. But more than that, because your heart tells you it is, right? You became a space explorer to discover new things, to help your people find their place among the stars. This is your chance to do both. Tewok reached out his hand toward the throne. The crystal was warm under his palm, almost like touching another person's skin. What do I have to do? Sit on the throne. Open your mind to the connection. Accept the responsibility that comes with power. Tewok looked around the vast room. One more time. The floating screen still showed distant worlds and star maps. Some screens showed his own solar system, with Earth as a tiny blue dot. He thought about Nari, his communications officer who was probably searching for him right now. He thought about Jae Sung, his best friend and engineer, who had taught him to never give up. He thought about his parents who had been so proud when he joined the colonial fleet. If I do this, will I be able to save them? You will have the power to try. That is all anyone can ask for. Tewok took a deep breath and sat down on the throne. The moment his body touched the crystal, everything changed. Light exploded behind his eyes. Information flowed into his mind like a river. He could suddenly feel the entire city around him, like it was part of his own body. His broken leg stopped hurting as the throne's healing systems went to work. Welcome, Sovereign, Kithmore said in his mind. Let us begin your education. The connection hit Tewok like lightning. Every nerve in his body came alive with new sensations. He could feel the entire city of Velnathi as if it were part of him. The crystal buildings breathed with his breathing. The flowing lights moved with his heartbeat. But it was more than just feeling the city. Knowledge poured into his mind like water through a broken dam. He understood things that no human had ever known. How to travel between stars without ships. How to shape matter with thought. How to heal wounds that should be impossible to fix. His broken leg mended itself in seconds. The pain in his chest disappeared. When he looked at his hands, they glowed faintly with the same light as the throne. "This is incredible," he whispered. "This is only the beginning," Kithmore replied in his mind. "You are now connected to every Dominion facility in the galaxy. Watch." The floating screens around the throne changed. Now they showed distant space stations, hidden bases on remote planets, and giant ships floating in the darkness between stars. All of them had been sleeping for thousands of years. But now, as Tewok watched, they began to wake up. Lights came on in abandoned cities on dozens of worlds. Massive defense platforms started moving in space. Ships that had been dark for millennia began to glow with power. "They're all responding to me?" Tewok asked. "You are the sovereign. All Dominion technology recognizes your authority, but with this power comes great responsibility." Images flashed through Tewok's mind. He saw the ethereal ones who had built this empire. They had not conquered through force. They had brought peace through wisdom, and strength through unity. They had protected countless species from the darkness that lived between the stars. "The Void Collective," Tewok said, remembering the terrible images Kithmore had shown him. "Yes, they are already moving toward your human space, but you now have the power to stop them." One of the screens focused on a region of space near human territory. Tewok saw dark shapes moving between the stars. They were huge, bigger than Earth's largest cities, and they were definitely coming toward human colonies. "How long do we have?" 8 of your months until they reach the first human world, but you must decide quickly what you will do. Will you use this power to save only humans? Or will you rebuild the Dominion and protect all sentient life? Tewok stood up from the throne. He felt strong and healthy, better than he had ever felt in his life. But the weight of what Kithmore was telling him pressed down on him like a mountain. "I need to contact my people. They need to know what's coming." "Of course. But first, you must understand the choice you face. If you accept the role of sovereign fully, you cannot simply return to your old life. The throne changes those who sit upon it, not in body, but in purpose. You will become something more than human, even as you remain human." "What does that mean?" "It means your first loyalty must be to all sentient life, not just to humanity. It means making decisions that affect billions of beings. It means sometimes choosing the needs of many over the needs of few, even when the few are your own people." Tewok walked to one of the floating screens. It showed Earth, small and blue and beautiful. On another screen, he could see human colonies, on a dozen worlds. Millions of people living their lives, completely unaware of the danger heading toward them. "Show me how to contact my ship," he said. The knowledge flowed into his mind instantly. He reached out with his thoughts, using the Dominion's communication systems. The signal was strong enough to reach across star systems in seconds. "Nari, this is Tewok. Can you hear me?" Static filled his mind for a moment. Then a familiar voice answered, full of shock and relief. "Tewok? My God, we thought you were dead. Where are you? How are you transmitting? This signal is impossibly strong." Nari Choi had been his communications officer for 3 years. She was smart, brave, and one of the few people in the universe he trusted completely. "Nari, listen to me carefully. I'm alive, but everything has changed. I'm on the planet where I crashed. I found something incredible, something that could save humanity." "What are you talking about?" "We tracked your ship's crash site. There was nothing there but wreckage. The crash site isn't where I am now. I found a city, Nari, an alien city with technology beyond anything we've ever imagined. And there's danger coming toward human space. Terrible danger." There was silence for a long moment. Then Nari's voice came back, full of concern. "Tewok, you hit your head pretty hard in that crash. Maybe you're seeing things that aren't there." "I'm not hallucinating, Nari. I'm going to send you my location. Bring Jae-sung and a small team. But come quietly, don't report this to command until you see it for yourself. Taewok, Nari, I know how this sounds, but I'm asking you to trust me. When have I ever lied to you? Another long pause. Never. Okay, we'll come. But if you're having hallucinations, we're taking you straight to the medical bay. Fair enough, but bring Hee-jin too. We'll need a xenobiologist for this. After he ended the communication, Tae-wook sat back down on the throne. The connection flowed through him again, showing him the state of the galaxy. So many worlds, so many different forms of life, and all of them potentially in danger from the approaching darkness. You are troubled, Kithmore observed. I joined the colonial fleet to explore the stars and help humanity find its place in the galaxy. I never wanted to rule an empire. The ethereal ones did not want to rule either. They wanted to protect and guide. There is a difference. Is there? How do I know I won't become a dictator? How do I know this power won't corrupt me? Because you are asking these questions. Those who seek power rarely question their right to have it. You fear the responsibility, which means you understand its weight. Tae-wook looked at the screen showing the approaching Void Collective. Even if he walked away from all this, even if he somehow found a way off this planet and back to his normal life, those creatures would still be coming. His family, his friends, everyone he had ever cared about would be in danger. If I do this, if I accept being the sovereign, what happens to other species? Will they accept a human ruler? Many species serve the Dominion willingly because the ethereal ones protected them and helped them grow. Some may resist at first, but when they see the Void Collective approaching, they will understand the need for unity. And if they don't, then they will fall to the darkness and the galaxy will be a smaller, sadder place. Tae-wook closed his eyes and felt the power flowing through him. He could sense distant worlds, sleeping defense systems, and the vast network of knowledge that the ethereal ones had left behind. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. How long before my people arrive? 2 days, given their current speed and trajectory. Then I have 2 days to learn as much as I can about what I've gotten myself into. We have much to teach you, Sovereign, but first you must decide. Will you embrace this role completely, or will you try to use the power while remaining unchanged? The choice will determine not just your fate, but the fate of every living being in the galaxy. Tae-wook opened his eyes and looked at the screen surrounding him. Somewhere out there, darkness was moving toward everything he loved, and here he sat, connected to the greatest power the galaxy had ever known. Teach me, he said. Teach me everything. 2 days later, Nari's ship landed in the crystal forest outside Velnathi. Tae-wook watched their approach through the city's sensors. He could see inside their ship, hear their conversations, and monitor their life signs. The power was overwhelming, but he was learning to control it. There, Nari said to her team as they suited up. That's the energy signature Tae-wook sent us, but I've never seen readings like these. Jae-sung Park, Tae-wook's best friend and the ship's engineer, checked his equipment twice. These numbers don't make sense, Nari. The power output is like a small star. Hee-jin Lee, their xenobiologist, was studying her scanners with wonder. The entire forest is alive in ways I've never seen before. The crystal formations are organic, but they're also technological. How is that possible? We'll find out, Nari said. But everyone stays alert. If Tae-wook is in trouble, we get him out fast. Tae-wook met them at the city's edge. When they saw him, their reactions were exactly what he had expected. My God, Nari whispered. Tae-wook, you look different, Jae-sung finished. You look like you haven't aged a day, but there's something else. Your eyes. Tae-wook's eyes now held flecks of the same light that flowed through the city. He looked healthier and stronger than they had ever seen him. But there was something else too, an awareness, as if he was listening to things they could not hear. Welcome to Velnathi, Tae-wook said. I know this is hard to believe, but everything I told you is real. Ye-jin was staring at the city with her mouth open. The crystal building stretched up into the clouds, breathing with life and glowing with inner light. This is incredible. The architecture, the materials, the integration. of organic and technological systems. Who built this? Come inside and I'll show you. As they walked through the city, Taewook explained everything. The ethereal dominion, the throne, the approaching danger of the Void Collective. His friends listened in stunned silence. So you're saying you're now the ruler of an ancient alien empire? Jae-sung asked. I'm saying I have access to their technology and the responsibility to use it wisely. And these void things are really coming toward human space? Nari asked. See for yourself. Taewook led them to the throne room. When his friends saw the massive chamber with its floating screens and the glowing throne at its center, they stopped. Walking. This is impossible, Jae-sung whispered. Watch, Taewook said. He sat on the throne, and immediately the screens came alive around them. They showed star maps, real-time images of distant worlds, and most importantly, the dark shapes moving through space toward human territory. Those are the Void Collective, Taewook explained. They consume consciousness itself. Every thinking, being they encounter simply stops existing. Hyejin was studying the images with scientific fascination and growing horror. They're huge, and there are so many of them. How long until they reach us? Nari asked. 6 months, Taewook replied. Maybe less. And you think this alien technology can stop them? I know it can. Watch this. Taewook reached out with his mind to a Dominion defense platform in a nearby star system. On the screens they watched as the ancient weapons activated. Beams of pure energy lanced out into space, demonstrating power beyond human understanding. That's just one platform, Taewook said. There are thousands of them throughout the galaxy, all waiting for commands. His friends were quiet for a long time, absorbing what they had seen. Finally, Nari spoke. What do you need from us? I need you to help me contact Earth Command. But more than that, I need you to help me figure out how to use this power without losing who I am. What do you mean? Jae-sung asked. The throne connects me to everything the Dominion ever built. I can sense other species across the galaxy. I can control weapons that could destroy planets. The temptation to solve problems through force is always there. Hyejin nodded thoughtfully. Power without wisdom is dangerous. But you're still you, Taewook. The fact that you're worried about corruption means you're still human where it matters. Am I? Sometimes I feel like I'm becoming something else. Like I'm losing touch with what it means to be human. Then we'll help you remember, Nari said firmly. That's what friends are for. Over the next few days, Taewook demonstrated more of the city's capabilities. He showed them how the Dominion's medical technology could heal any injury. He revealed manufacturing systems that could create anything they could imagine. He explained how the ancient communication networks could reach any point in the galaxy instantly. But he also showed them the weight of responsibility that came with such power. 3 alien species have already pledged to serve the new Dominion, he explained. The Thren are crystalline beings who live for thousands of years. The Luminari are made of living energy. The Kalathi are hive-minded insectoids with incredible technological skills. They all just accepted you as their leader, Jae-sung asked. They accepted the Dominion. They know what the Void Collective can do. They've seen entire star systems consumed by the darkness. They need a united defense. But do they trust humans? Hyejin asked. They trust the throne, and the throne chose me. But yes, they have doubts. Humans are young and aggressive compared to most galactic species. Some think we're too violent to lead. Are we? Nari asked quietly. Taewook was quiet for a moment. Sometimes I think our violence is exactly what the galaxy needs. The ethereal ones were wise and peaceful, but they transcended physical existence rather than fight the Void Collective directly. Maybe it takes a younger, more stubborn species to actually stand and fight. That evening, as they sat in one of the city's garden spaces under alien stars, Nari brought up the question they had all been thinking about. What happens when Earth Command finds out about this? They'll want to control it, Jae-sung said immediately. They'll want to use the technology for military advantage. And they'll be right to want that, Taewook said. But they won't understand the bigger picture. This isn't about giving humanity an edge over other species. It's about uniting everyone against a common enemy. Will you tell them that? Nari asked. I'll try, but I have a feeling they won't want to listen. He was right. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected a large fleet approaching the planet. Admiral Donghyun Seo was leading 12 of Earth's most advanced warships toward Velnathi. They're not coming to negotiate, Nari observed, watching the fleet's approach on the screens. No, Taewook agreed. They're coming to take control of the situation. What will you do? Hyejin asked. Taewook sat on the throne and felt the vast network of Dominion power respond to his thoughts. He could destroy the approaching fleet with a thought. He could disable their ships and force them to listen. He could demonstrate power that would make them fear to oppose him. But all of those options felt wrong. I'll do what the ethereal ones would have done, he said finally. I'll show them the truth and hope they're wise enough to accept it. And if they're not, then I'll protect them anyway. That's what being sovereign means. On the screens around them, the dark shapes of the Void Collective continued their slow but unstoppable advance toward human space. Time was running out, and Taewook still had to convince his own species that he was their salvation, not their enemy. The hardest battles, he was learning, were not always fought with weapons. Admiral Seo will be here in 6 hours, Nari reported. Then we have 6 hours to prepare for the most important conversation in human history, Taewook replied. He looked at his friends, the only people in the universe who truly understood what he was trying to do. Whatever happened next, he would not face it alone. Admiral Donghyun Seo was not a man who scared easily. He had fought in 3 colonial wars and commanded Earth's most advanced battle fleet. But as his ships approached the planet where Captain Kim had allegedly found alien technology, he felt nervous. The energy readings were impossible. Nothing in human science could explain them, and the reports from Kim's crew sounded like science fiction. Admiral, his sensor officer called out, I'm detecting massive structures on the planet surface. They're alive, sir. Alive how? They're generating heat, moving, consuming energy like living organisms, but they're clearly artificial. Through his ship's main screen, Admiral Seo saw Velnathi for the first time. The crystal city stretched across, the planet's surface like a glowing web. Even from space, he could see that it was unlike anything humans had ever built. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission. It's Captain Kim. Put him on screen. Taewook's image appeared on the bridge's main display. Admiral Seo had known him for years, but this was not the same man. Kim looked younger, healthier, and his eyes held a strange light. Admiral Seo, Taewook said calmly. Welcome to Velnathi. I assume you're here to secure the alien technology. Captain Kim, you were reported dead 3 weeks ago. Now you claim to have found some kind of alien empire. Forgive me if I'm skeptical. I understand your doubts, but Admiral, we don't have time for a long debate. The galaxy is in danger and humanity needs to act quickly if we're going to survive. Explain. Taewook transmitted data directly to the fleet's computers. Images of the Void Collective filled their screens. Dark shapes the size of cities moving through space, consuming everything in their path. These are real-time images, Admiral. The Void Collective is 6 months away from our outer colonies. Our weapons can't stop them, but the Dominion technology can. Admiral Seo studied the images with growing alarm. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? I'm proposing that humanity joins a galactic alliance to fight a common enemy. I'm proposing that we stop thinking of ourselves as alone in the universe and start thinking of ourselves as part of something larger. Under your leadership? Under the leadership of whoever can unite the galaxy against the darkness. The alien technology has chosen me for that role. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Captain, I'm going to need you to come aboard my ship for debriefing. I'm afraid that's not possible, Admiral. I can't leave the planet for extended periods. The connection to the city's systems is too important. Then I'm coming down there with a full security team. You're welcome to visit. But Admiral, leave the security team in orbit. The city's defenses are extensive. 2 hours later, Admiral Seo stood in the throne room of Velnathi, staring at the floating screens that showed real-time images of distant star systems. His scientific advisor, Dr. Wonho Kim, was examining the organic technology with wonder and disbelief. "This is impossible," Dr. Kim whispered. "The integration of biological and technological systems, the energy output, the computational power, it's thousands of years ahead of our science. The ethereal ones had millions of years to develop this technology," Taewook explained from the throne. "They're offering to share it with us, but only if we use it responsibly." "And you speak for these ethereal ones?" Admiral Seo asked. "They're gone, Admiral. They transcended physical existence long ago. But they left this city and its intelligence to guide worthy successors. Kithmore is the city's consciousness," Nari added, supporting her captain. "It's been waiting for thousands of years for the right species to inherit the Dominion." Admiral Seo walked closer to the throne. "And it chose humanity? It chose humans with a specific neural pattern, a pattern that allows us to interface with their technology without losing our minds. How do we know this isn't some kind of trap? How do we know these aliens aren't controlling you?" Taewook stood up from the throne. The moment he did, the screens went dark and the room's lights dimmed. "Because if they were controlling me, they would make you obey as well." He sat back down, and the systems came back online. "I chose this, Admiral. Not because I wanted power, but because I saw what's coming." On the main screen, the images of the approaching Void Collective played again. Dark shapes that seemed to absorb light itself, moving steadily toward human space. "Even if I believe you," Admiral Seo said, "Earth Command will never accept a single man controlling this much power. They'll want oversight, controls, checks and balances. Then they'll get people killed," Taewook said bluntly. "Admiral, the Void Collective doesn't care about human politics. They don't negotiate or hesitate or form committees. They consume consciousness and move on. The only way to fight them is with unified command and instantaneous response." Dr. Kim was studying the energy readings from his scanners. "Admiral, the power levels I'm detecting here could destroy our entire fleet without effort. If Captain Kim wanted to force us to comply, he already could have. The question," Taewook said, "is whether humanity can adapt quickly enough to survive. Other species have already pledged to serve the new Dominion. The Thren, the Luminary, the Kalathi. They understand what's at stake." "What about species that refuse to join?" Admiral Seo asked. "Then they face the Void Collective alone, and they die." The Admiral was quiet for a long time, processing what he had seen and heard. Finally, he spoke. "What do you need from Earth?" "Recognition that the threat is real, permission to use Dominion technology to defend human space, and trust that I haven't forgotten what it means to be human." 3 days later, the first test came. Long-range sensors detected a Void Collective scout force approaching a human mining colony on the edge of settled space. The colony had 50,000 people and no military defense worth mentioning. "They'll all die unless we act," Taewook told Admiral Seo. "This is what I've been trying to prepare for." From the throne, Taewook reached out across space to dormant Dominion defense platforms. Ancient weapons that had slept for millennia came online in response to his commands. Allied ships from 3 different species moved into position. The battle lasted 6 hours. The human colonists never even knew they were in danger until it was over. Taewook coordinated the defense of an entire star system from his throne on Velnathi. He directed energy weapons that could crack moons, guided Allied ships through tactical maneuvers, and synchronized attacks across light years of space. When it was finished, the Void Collective scouts were destroyed. Not a single human life was lost. "Incredible," Admiral Seo said, watching the battle reports. "You commanded that entire operation without leaving this room." "This is just the beginning," Taewook replied. "The main Void force is still coming, and they'll be much stronger than these scouts." Over the following months, more attacks came. Each time, Taewook was ready. He began integrating human ships with Dominion technology, making them faster and more powerful than anything Earth had ever built. He established communication networks that allowed instant coordination across the galaxy. But most importantly, he proved to humanity that he had not forgotten who he was. When a human colony ship was attacked by space pirates, Tewok diverted an entire battle fleet to save them. When Earth's government tried to claim ownership of Dominion technology for military advantage, he politely but firmly refused, explaining that the technology belonged to all sentient beings. "You're still the same stubborn idealist you always were," Nari told him one day as they watched the sunset over Velnathi. "I hope so," Tewok replied. "The galaxy needs humans to be human. Our stubbornness, our refusal to give up, our willingness to fight for others. That's what the Dominion has been missing." Jae Sung had become the head of technology integration, working with alien scientists to adapt Dominion systems for use by multiple species. Jin led the cultural exchange programs, helping different species understand each other. And Nari had become something like the voice of humanity in the new Galactic Alliance, making sure that human values and concerns were never forgotten. 6 months after the first Void Scout attack, the main collective force reached the edge of human space. They came in numbers that blacked out the stars, a wave of darkness that had consumed hundreds of worlds. But they did not find the scattered, unprepared civilizations they expected. Instead, they found the reborn Dominion. Human ships fought alongside, crystalline Thren vessels and energy-based luminary fighters. Ancient weapons platforms awakened across a dozen star systems, and coordinating it all from his throne on Velnathi, Tewok Kim commanded the greatest military force the galaxy had seen in millions of years. The battle lasted 3 days and stretched across multiple star systems. When it was over, the Void Collective had been pushed back to the darkness between galaxies. "Is it over?" Admiral CO asked. "No," Tewok replied. "They'll regroup and try again, but now we're ready for them. The galaxy is united. The Dominion lives again." He looked out at the crystal city that had become humanity's capital among the stars. Ships from dozens of species came and went from the orbital platforms. Representatives from 100 worlds worked together in the Great Council chambers. "The ethereal ones were right," he said to his friends. "The galaxy needs guardians, protectors who will stand against the darkness."